Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is this Ruchi Mataji?
Yes.
So Janva Mataji is also on the call. Let me call Shanta Mataji. Maybe she will also join.
Hare Krishna, Janva Mataji. No.
Okay, Mataji, she did not answer the phone. I tried. So let's start with the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, Mataji, so we are supposed to read from text 29 through 31 today of Canto 2, Chapter 10. The name of the chapter is Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So, Ruchi Mataji, do you have the book? Would you like to read?
I have to look. This can go again. Some time in looking for the book, then I can read later.
Okay, so let me start and then you can read, okay? This is Canto 2, Chapter 10, text 29.
Okay.
Aditsor an pananam asan kukshi antar nadaya nadyas samudrascha tayos tushti pushti tad ashraye. Translation: when there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and the intestines and also the arteries became manifested. The rivers and the seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism. Purport: the controlling deities of the intestines are the rivers, and those of the arteries, the seas. Fulfillment of the belly with fruit and drink is the cause of sustenance, and the metabolism of the food and drink replaces water of the bodily energies. Therefore, the body's health is dependent on healthy actions of the intestines and the arteries. The rivers and the seas, being the controlling deities of the two, keep the intestines and arteries in healthy order. Ruchi Mataji, are you ready now?
I can't find the book.
Oh,
I
Ruchi Mataji is there today.
Huh? No, it's not my turn.
It's Prabla Madri Mataji's turn.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Who is sharing? You are sharing today.
Yeah, I'm sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have a book and would like to read 30?
I can read. I'm taking out it in the Veda.
Okay, Premarasa, would you like to read 30? And Ruchi Mataji can read 31.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So text 30. Nidhi dhyasor atmamayam hridayam nirabhityata tato manas chandra iti sankalpa kama evacha. Translation. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination of all desire became manifested. Purport. The heart of every living entity is the seat of the super soul Paramatma, a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without his presence, the living entity cannot get into the working energy according to his past deeds. The living entity who has conditioned in the material world are manifested in the creation in terms of respective inclination inherent in them, and the requisite uh, material body is offered to each and every one of them by the material energy under the direction of the Supreme Soul, Super Soul. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. When therefore the super soul is situated in the heart of the conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. Therefore, the material mind of the living entity develops when the super soul sits on his heart, after which the mind, the controlling deity, moon, and then the activities of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, all take place. The activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart, and the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation.
Okay, I can read.
Mataji, are you ready with 31?
Yes, I'm ready. Swakarma Mamsa Yudhira Medo Majishthi Dhatwaha Bhumi आप तेजोमया सत्ता प्राणो वायो मम्बु वायुभूहि वायुभि. Translation. The seven elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, the flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life breath is produced by the sky, water, and air. Purport. The construction of the whole material world is prominently made by three elements, namely earth, water, and fire. But the living force is produced by sky, air, and water. For water is the common element in both the gross and subtle forms of all material creation, and it should be noted herewith that due to necessity, water being most prominent in the material creation is the principal element of all the five. This material body is thus an embodiment of the five elements, and the gross manifestation is perceived because of three, namely earth, water, and fire. Sensations of touch are perceived due to the thin layer on the skin, and bone is as good as hard stone. The breathing air of life is produced of sky, air, and water, and therefore open air, regular bath, and ample space in which to live for are favorable for healthy vitality. Fresh produce from the earth like grains and vegetables, as well as fresh water and heat, is good for the upkeep of the body.
Okay, thank you, Mayatri, for reading. So, mm, I just want to take a minute to read the translations from the book that I have and see if it will help us in understanding these purports better. Okay. So this is text number 29. Feel free to interrupt and discuss if something comes up and if you find something interesting, okay? This is text 29 from commentary by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Translation. When the universal form desired to take in food and drink, the location of the abdomen, the sense organs in the form of the intestines and veins, their devatas, the rivers and oceans and their sense objects, fullness from food, fullness from liquids, which takes shelter of the sense organs and their devatas appeared. Commentary. When the universal form desired to consume food and drink, the abdomen, intestines, and veins appeared. The abdomen is the location. The sense organ is located in the intestines, which absorb the food. The veins are the sense organs which absorb liquids. The devatas of the veins are rivers, and the devata of the intestines is the ocean. Tushti means fullness of belly, and pushti means fullness because of taste. Tushti is the sense object dependent on the intestines and the oceans, and pushti is the sense object dependent on the veins and rivers. Text 30. When the universal form desired to contemplate material objects and illusions concerning himself, the heart appeared. Then the sense organ called the mind, the devata called Chandra, and the sense objects, determination and desire, arose. Commentary. Desiring to contemplate Maya concerning himself and objects created by Maya, the location called the heart appeared. The sense organ called the mind, the devata called Chandra, and the sense objects, determination and desire, appeared. From the third canto, it is also understood that in the location of the heart, the senses known as Chitta, false ego, and intelligence, and the Devata, Vasudev, Rudra, and Brahma also appeared. In this way, 18 senses have been mentioned. This is known from the 11th canto. 31, text 31. Translation. The 7 dhatus, known as skin, its upper layer, muscle, blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are composed of predominantly the earth, water, and fire. The life airs are nourished by ether and water. Having described the sense organs, Adhyatma, gross locations, and sense objects, Adibhuta, and sense devatas, Adidaiva, Sukadev describes the nature of the dhatus and other items which arise as portions of the elements in 2 verses. Twak and charma are the gross and subtle aspects of skin. The 7 dhatus, starting with the skin and ending with bone, are composed of earth, water, and fire elements. Those items have all the 5 elements as components because air and ether do not nourish the body through food, and other items, whereas water, earth, and fire do. These 3 elements are mentioned. The prana composed of air is nourished by ether and water. Putting all three items in plural instrumental case is poetic license. So anybody would like to share, depending on what we read so far?
I just have a suggestion that since I mean, I don't know if everybody feels like that, but I think like these are very important purports. We should do it at least one or two at a time, not three at a time, because it's not possible to understand all of them. And like about it, it's like there are three.
Yes, Mataji, it's a good point. Mm.
Mataji, could you repeat that? Because I put out the schedule and I want to know what the suggestion is a little bit better. You said 1, 2, or 3. I think there's 3 here. So you're thinking more of 1 or 2?
Yes, Mataji, because they are very deep, like it has very deep meanings and it is very important to understand. I think according to me, it's like we can only do maximum 2. But 3, it's not possible to like understand all 3 in like.
Okay. Some people have, they do the reading and some people don't, and so I kind of try to think of that. Also, this was not assigned to Lila Manjari, so I'll keep that in mind when I'm writing out the schedule, though. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, because you see like how she just read, those are like very, very deep meanings with like all the 3, and so that's just it, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Manasikanga Mataji, you are doing a fantastic job. So thank you very much for the hard work of compiling the schedules every week.
Oh, okay.
I always think of how you can do it so perfectly and consistently each week.
I don't know that it's perfect. I'm just trying to see how much material, and then I try to put in where, like, a lot of people have a lot of information, like that they can easily go to, and some people it's harder for them to think of things to say. So I kind of like put that, and I try to put things that are of the same like ideas together too. So I don't know that it's perfect. I by no means is it perfect, but it's my attempt to try to do it. So thank you,
Mataji. Do you don't feel that? I mean, of course, you do so much of hard work, and it is
no, it is
not
not.
perfect. But I was just thinking, according to me, I was thinking it's kind of difficult for me to understand 3. So
okay. Okay. Thank you, Mataji, for your suggestion. I'll keep it in mind. Hare Krishna.
Manasikanga Mataji, do you read all the purports to find out which verses go together?
I read the translations, and then if I have the time, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, I'll kind of skim through the purports and try. Also, like some have a lot of like the topic itself has a lot of things that we could like go and deeper into, as opposed to, and it's like it's just up to my own. Like one person might think that there's a lot more in a purport than another. Like, so I'm just kind of going off of what I think, but I'll try to keep that in mind, Mataji. Okay.
Mataji, I also feel that you really do that service so nicely, and every time you send the schedule, and that's where my thoughts also go. Like there's so much of hard work that goes in that, just making the schedule and talking to everybody, finding out which day they can do and all that. It's a lot of yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. I wish I could do more. Okay, back to the translation, to the purport. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. So I will also read from Canto 2, where it is referenced here in Canto 3, Chapter 6, 23 to 26. Okay, so this is again more information about the universal form, and this is uh, Canto 3, Chapter 6, verse 23. When the intelligence of the gigantic form separately became manifest, Brahma, the Lord of the Vedas, entered into it with the partial power of understanding, and thus an object of understanding is experienced by the living entities. 24. After that, the heart of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered the moon demigod with partial mental activity. Thus, the living entity can conduct his mental speculations. 25. Thereafter, the materialistic ego of the gigantic form separately manifested itself, and into it entered Rudra, the controller of false ego, with his own partial activities by which the living entity transacts his objective actions. Purport. The false ego of the materialistic identity is controlled by the demigod Rudra, an incarnation of Lord Shiva. Rudra is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord who controls the mode of ignorance within material nature. The activities of the false ego are both based on the objective of the body and mind. Most persons conducted by the false ego are controlled by Lord Shiva. When one reaches a finer version of ignorance, he falsely thinks of himself as the Supreme Lord. That egoistic conviction of the conditioned soul is the last snare of the illusory energy which controls the entire material world. Text 26. Thereafter, when his consciousness separately manifested itself, the total energy Mahatattva entered with his conscious part. Thus, the living entity is able to conceive specific knowledge. So, through all of this information, which Ruchi Mataji was, clearly admitting that there is a lot of information here in one sense, that the mind, intelligence, and false ego and their controlling deities, the abdomen, the intestines, and their controlling deities, one after other are manifesting, and finally Sukadev Goswami is describing about the skin, the fat, bone marrow, blood, muscles. So all these things are manifesting, and he is also explaining that these are manifesting from earth, water, and fire primarily. So what can we do with all this information, right? We are trying to be devotees of Krishna, and there is so much information about the demigods, the controlling deities. And how can this information inspire or impact us in our Krishna consciousness? So I was primarily thinking about this point, about the moon, especially because I think I read somewhere in my chart that the moon in my horoscope is placed in the wrong position. That means something is opposed to the moon. So, such kind of people, they have a lot of difficulty with their mind. So, usually it is said that the moon is a controlling deity. So now, what karmis do when they see any imbalances in any of their, chakras, in any of their astrological charts, with any of their senses. If they find any difficulty, they usually go to an astrologer They consult an astrologer. Sometimes they wear a ring. Sometimes they perform a sacrifice to please these deities. And sometimes they do other things to pacify a particular demigod or to remove a sinful reaction that they may have performed in their previous lifetime through such sacrifices. So, a part of it is like that, and people can interpret this information in different ways. But for us as devotees of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada has been clear, and also all the Vaishnava scriptures are clear that we do not worship anybody except Krishna. So, usually devotees do not get into worshipping the demigods and taking care of their distresses. Instead, what they do is they become resolute in their purpose to serve Krishna. That is also a function of the intelligence and the mind. So I'm thinking about persons who are not so determined, whose mind is very flickering. What can such people do? Like just like myself, the determination is very weak, and the strength of the mind is like below mediocrity. For such people also, there is always hope in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada used to say that if your intelligence is weak, borrow intelligence from someone else. So this is what we are doing through hearing from scripture, through hearing from sadhus. We can hear from them and pray to the Lord to give us the strength to implement and follow it in our life. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita text 41, I believe, that Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. So first of all, he describes all about the Vedas. He says there is a lot of information in the Vedas, but the information in the Vedas deals with primarily the three modes of material nature: the Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. So do not get carried away by the flowery language. Instead, what does a person in Krishna consciousness do? Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. It means a person who is resolute in Krishna consciousness has only one purpose fixed in his mind. Bahushakha hi anantasya buddhayo avyavasayinam. And those who are irresolute in purpose, their intelligence is many branched. So, we can apply this verse in our own life. Because, the moment I sit down to chant with my japa beads, all kinds of, great ideas come into my mind. Bahushakha hi anantasya. It means that their intelligence is many branched. First we'll think, okay, oh, my husband is going to come, maybe I need to cook something, or I have to call this devotee, or I have to prepare for class, or I have to clean my house, I have to organize this. Oh, that person said like this to me. So these are so many different thoughts that the mind is constantly posing and processing. And with each person's personality is different, so they process and think about these things in different ways. But the advice that Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita is, he describes a Krishna conscious person like this, that here he is resolute in his purpose. And what is his purpose? Krishna also describes that in the Bhagavad Gita. He says the resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is that irrespective of honor and dishonor, irrespective of heat and cold, irrespective of whatever the circumstances of life, his goal is to attain Krishna. He describes that in 11.55 of Bhagavad Gita, where he says that the goal of a Krishna conscious person is to come to me. So Srila Prabhupada has clearly given us this goal. He has given us, in whatever circumstances of life, please keep going towards Krishna. Please try to please Krishna through whatever you do. So, so all these things come in and out of our mind, but through our chanting, through our life, we can keep praying to Srila Prabhupada, we can keep praying to Krishna, that our resolution for staying on the path of Krishna consciousness remains fixed. And that through every moment of life, we can remember the goal of life, and we can remember that the only way to attain that goal of life is through devotional service and by remembering Krishna and his lotus feet all the time. So, I think that is my takeaway from these verses, that we do not separately go and worship the demigods. Like the demigod of false ego is Lord Shiva, Rudra. The demigod of the mind is Chandra. The demigod of the intestines is the oceans, and the air. The veins is the oceans, and the intestines is the rivers. So, in Vedic understanding, all these entities of material nature, the devatas are worshipped, but for a Krishna consciousness does not recommend a person to do like that. We depend wholly and solely on Krishna's mercy, and we have one single purpose, is to dedicate our life to reaching Krishna as the object of our love, as the object of our affection. So that's all I have to say. Anybody would like to comment, add something?
In the text 30, if you go, the last line that says the activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart, and the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. Can you explain this more, because I didn't understand it?
Yes, Mataji. So one thing that is we have to understand is that in Krishna consciousness, if you ask a high school, student, where is your mind? Immediately they will point to the head and say, okay, here is my mind, right? And but in Krishna consciousness, the mind is not really located in the head. The heart, the mind is a subtle covering of the soul. The soul is located in the region of the heart, and mind, intelligence, and false ego, all three are coverings of the soul, subtle coverings of the soul, just like the body is the gross covering of the soul. So far, is it clear, Mataji? Ruchi Mataji?
Yes, so far it's clear. No, I just wanted to understand what it means.
Okay. So the mind is not really like how we think of the mind. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, the functions of the mind are described in Bhagavad Gita. Mataji, someone is shuffling things in the background. If we can just mute themselves just for a second.
I've been muted, so I'll just continue being muted.
Okay, so someone is shuffling, but it's okay. I don't think they're hearing us. Okay, so Mataji, here it is described, right? The activities of the mind. What are they describing? Thinking, feeling, and willing. Okay, these are the activities of the mind that are described. So here, So thinking, feeling, and willing, and the heart and the mind are usually not discriminated so much in Vedic literatures. Okay. Therefore, this statement is being said: the activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart, and the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of material creation. That's all I can understand from this. Is it helpful, Ruchi Mataji?
Yeah, the last line was what I had doubt about, like the heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. What does that mean? That last line I was a little doubtful about.
Anyone else would like to try to help Ruchi Mataji and myself with the last line? Ruchi Mataji, what is your question? Can you share it? Because did not understand the question. Sorry.
No, I couldn't understand the last line. The heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation.
The heart becomes manifested when the Lord wants to see. Okay, I'm going to read 2 or 3 more sentences to kind of understand, and then we'll see if we can. I thought like what my sister said was like nice, but I don't really know if I can do any better, but I'll try. So it says that. So it reads, when therefore the super soul is situated in the heart of a conditioned soul, the requisite mind is manifested in the conditioned soul, and he becomes conscious of his occupation as one is conscious of his duty after waking up from slumber. So this part I think it's clear for all of us, where he is saying that generally when we wake up, we know what, we have that remembrance from Krishna where we understand what is our daily duty, what do we need to do. Similarly, when the conditioned soul comes out from the body of Mahavishnu, then they actually kind of wake up from the slumber, and they know when the super soul actually starts to sit within the heart of the conditioned soul. And he says that therefore the material mind of the living entity develops when the super soul sits on his heart after the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing all take place. Yeah, so basically the mind manifests after the super soul sits in the heart of the living entity, and after which the mind, the controlling deity, moon, and then the activities of the mind cannot begin without the manifestation of the heart. Yeah, so the super soul resides and the heart manifests. Yes, Madhuri, this is whatever she said. I think that's the understanding I'm also getting, that it's like the covering. So I don't really know like if I can add anything more to this line. So sorry, maybe somebody like Mansi Ganga Mataji or somebody on the call can comment.
Yeah, what I am thinking is kind of very strange. Maybe you all can correct me, but according to me, I think that it is written that So whatever desires one has in the heart, accordingly, the super soul will make up the mind so that we can perform activities, so that the mind can fulfill those desires in accordance with the super soul. But then this is a little confusing, that the Lord wants to, so the heart becomes manifested, because then the Lord wants to see the effect of those desires or the activities. So the activities are actually the effects of those desires on the material creation. But why would the Lord want to see it as something? I don't know if my train of thought is correct, or like if that is the thing that. But according to me, what I understand is the heart becomes manifested, so that now the heart has the heart with its desires become manifested when the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation. So it is implying that whatever desires we have, and then whatever activities we will perform, then the effect of those activities on the material creation will have on us, and what we will have on the material creation by our desires is what he wants to see. But he already knows everything, so that is a little confusing, and I don't even know if that is correct train of thought.
So Mataji, my comment would be that, like, unless Krishna desires, the cosmic manifestation cannot take place. It's through his desire that everything, time comes into place and everything starts moving. And so, like, my understanding here is that when he's saying the heart become manifested, then I'm hearing that it's indicating to the living entity, actually, because the soul resides within the heart of the living entity. So they're actually indicating to the soul. So he's saying that unless like Krishna desires, the activity of any living entity cannot start. We will be residing in the body of Mahavishnu. So that's how I'm seeing this sentence. Maybe somebody who can like read it more clearly can probably explain.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I just got the idea. So thanks. Thanks a lot for your explanation.
Yes, Mataji, it is correct. Like, I think so. Because so far we have been reading about all the senses, right? That first the Lord desires, then the senses manifest, and the sense the controlling demigods manifest. So similarly, if Krishna, the Virat Roop, if he did not think of the sense objects or desire to think about the sense objects, if he didn't have that desire, we cannot have that desire. So first he has to have that desire. So after Prema research shared, like, I'm understanding what you're trying to say better.
Yes, I think it is much clearer now that in accordance with his desire only, we have the desire, and then we will develop a heart and mind accordingly, and then we will interact with the material creation accordingly with the pursuits with the sanction of the super soul. But it is a little confusing, like when it is written that the Lord wants to see the activities of the material creation, then why? That is just, it's okay. I understood the gist.
Yes, Mataji. Actually, like, if we go back to the other senses also, I think the similar question will apply. For example, when Rishali Mataji was explaining that the Lord had, like few classes ago, she was explaining that the Lord desired to eat. So And then in the purport, Prabhupada also explains that Krishna does not need to eat, like as you were saying. So, but to show compassion upon the living entities, he desires to see, he desires to eat. He is like the king, and the rest of the living entities are like his followers. So whatever the king does, like everybody else can do. Otherwise, they cannot do. So in order to fulfill our desires, he is desiring through the Virat Rupa, and all those organs and the deities associated with the organs, all of them are manifesting to suit our desires. You see the point?
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji's, any final 1 or 2 comments? I would like to end by 6 o'clock today.
I just wanted to thank you for the very nice class. Actually, only thoughts, like my thoughts were going creation of Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's so detailed, like each and every sense how it comes, and although like I don't have the ability to understand it so deeply, but like every detail is given. So I was really appreciating the depth of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how nicely Srila Prabhupada actually writes all his purports. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for your nice class and your explanations, and Ruchi Mataji especially for your good questions always, and everybody's attempt to answer them. Thank you.
It's still 5:15. Lila Manjari Mataji, can you explain a little bit more of this text 30? Text 30, yeah.
Text 30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll make an attempt, and Manasikanga Mataji, Premarasa, whoever else is on the call. Is there someone else on the call other than Ruchi Mataji, Manasikanga Mataji, Premarasa? Janva Mataji is on the call. So please chime in, because I just saw the text message from Prabhala Madhuri Mataji that she won't be able to read. So I thought that, it will be just helpful to like navigate the class. Okay, I'll read each sentence, okay?
No, I'm fine with the purport. Like the first line, when there was a desire, I think it's the same thing, but it's a little, when there was a desire to think about the activities of its own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon determination, and all desires became manifested. That is a little bit confusing to me. If you can more elaborate on that.
Okay, Mataji. And then we will also go through the purport if it is required, okay? So, we have been, from the beginning of, I believe, text 10. Maybe somebody can go back and see, but I may not be 100% correct. But I think since the beginning of text 10, there is this reference to 3 things, right? Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, and Adhyatma. Do you remember the reference to these three things?
Yes.
Yeah. So, can you tell me what these three things are?
Yeah, it is Adi Devi, the controlling deities of the sense organs. Then the Adi Devik is I don't remember much, but the gross physical material sense organs is Adi Bhautik, and then Adhyatmic is which is like the divine forces. I think that is what I remember.
Yeah, Adhyatma is actually the soul proper. That means the Jiva. Okay. So, Sukadev Goswami somehow, like he describes each living entity in terms of these three types of living entities. Okay. And there is a fourth living entity who is called as Aryagya. So he is also described in the purports. So Aryagya is the Lord of Sacrifice. So the whole purpose of creating the Adi Bhuta, Adhyatma, and Adidaiva is to please Aryagya. That's the real purpose, right? But then there are conditioned living entities who have come into this material world to enjoy separately from Aryagya, but still these factors still apply even in their life. They need to have Adhyatma, Adibhuta, Adidaiva, which are interdependent on each other and ultimately controlled by Aryagya. So that is the gist of what we have been reading. So here also, now instead of desiring to eat, now here is a desire to think. Okay? So what do we think about?
Our desires.
Yeah, we think about our desires, we think about our activities, we think about people. So here, the Lord has a desire to think about the activities of his own energy. Okay, that is his desire of Virat Roop. But as soon as he had this desire, immediately the sense organ, that means Adibhuta, the sense organ associated with that is the heart. And in Sanskrit, the heart and the mind are not discriminated a lot. So that's why they are using it interchangeably. The heart, which is the seat of the mind. Okay? And the mind has three functions: thinking, feeling, and willing. So what is the meaning of thinking, feeling, and willing? Thinking means, supposing if I have a desire to eat something, okay, eat a samosa. So I'm thinking about the samosa first, okay? Then the feeling comes, like how nice would it be to eat a hot samosa which is stuffed and have a red chutney with it. That's the feel, like you're already feeling it. And willing, now I will go in search of a place where they will serve hot samosas. Okay, that's how usually things occur: thinking, feeling, and willing. And this can be applied even as a spiritual principle. Think of Krishna, feel of how wonderful it will be to serve Krishna and be with Krishna, and be willing to do the sacrifice in order to achieve the goal. But generally, as conditioned souls, we apply it for our material senses and material activities. And first, Adibhuta is the heart appeared, then and the mind appeared, and then what happened after that? The Adidaiva is the moon. So Chandra is the controlling deity of the mind. Okay, so because of the Lord's desires, Adibhuta, Adidaiva, and along with that, what else appeared? What are the other functions of the mind and intelligence? Determination, and all desire became manifested. Is it helpful, Ruchi Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, thanks a lot. It is very much, now it became much clearer, especially after you said about the control, about the yagya, the sacrifice, and how that of the ultimate for which the three others were created. So earlier I was thinking how is it related, but now it all makes sense, because then we were created ultimately for that, but then we did not, we had a desire to be separate from the sacrificial purpose. So that that is why we were we were away from Krishna, and so then that is why now we have separate desires. Now the moon and this whole energy is becoming manifested. So yes, it is very helpful, and thanks a lot for you have a pretty good understanding. So thanks a lot.
Ruchi Mataji, yes, thank you for your kind words.
No, it was very helpful. I was thinking I did not understand it, but now it is a lot more clearer that he, in accordance, also because of what Premrasa said, that in accordance to Krishna's will, so is our will, and so that's how the whole material universe became manifested, and so it is much clearer now, I'm sure. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ruchi Mataji, for your kind words. And now watch out for the moon, okay? Because the moon is the controlling deity of the mind.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. They say that our moods are very much dependent on the moon. So if it's a bright moon day, they say that some people become more agitated on that day. And they say when it is the moon completely fades, the energy in our body also fades. We experience that, I have no energy, and it's Amavasya day. But irrespective of all of these things, the devotees of the Lord are recommended to remain resolute in their purpose to serve Krishna. Whether this way or that way. It's not easy, but I'm just trying to remind myself.
Okay, just one another question. So, whatever desire we have, is it in accordance with the supreme desire, or we desire it separately? Because of our separate desire only we are born. So how can it be in accordance with the supreme desire?
Mataji, whatever we are desiring is our desire.
No, but you said that in accordance with the supreme desire, is our desire formed, and so that is how the whole material creation is formed, right?
Mataji, there is so much noise in the background, I am not able to hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. Somebody is communicating.
Mataji, the moon has joined the conference call. He doesn't like what we are talking about him. He's making all that noise.
I think it's a child who has a child, so
Okay, Mataji, we will stop here. Because it's hard to understand. But whatever is your questions, please send it on the WhatsApp group so all of us can have a look at it and we can respond according to our understanding. Okay?
Mataji, can I ask a quick question? Hare Krishna? What does Mali mean? Like Chandra Mali? I'm thinking Chandra means moon, and you said it means mind. The deity of the mind.
Chandramauli is
And
Lord
then what is
Shiva.
Mali?
Chandramauli is Lord
Oh.
Shiva who has a moon on his forehead.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, there is so much noise. I don't know if it's just me or everybody can hear this noise in the background.
I can hear it too. I think someone turned on their phone and forgot that their phone is on, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone with a child.
Yeah. So I will pause here. If we have more discussion, let's continue on our WhatsApp group, okay, or through emails. Okay. Thank you all for your kindness, for your patience, for your enthusiasm to read Srimad Bhagavatam every day. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Yellow, Athar, जल्दी लो. थोड़ा उसको खाना खा. हाँ, मम्मी will tell her not to eat it. It's mine. No, that is Athar. This one is yours. That looks good. But you didn't want to mix another dog. You wanted this. You like it being here. No. You hit me. Why should I should? Mama, Athar, can I hit? So, but why did you hit him? No, don't tell him. No, but why did you hit him? Athar, no, Athar, नहीं गंदी बात नहीं करते. Athar, गंदी बात. Athar. We were only playing. Hitting is not playing. Yes. No. चलो बैठो खाओ. अथर लो बेटा, तुम भी ले लो अपना. तुम यहाँ बैठ जाओ, यहाँ पे बैठ जाओ. यहाँ पे. मम्मा. अच्छा रुको, मम्मी चिपका देती हूँ. फोन बज रहा है उसका? किसका बज रहा है? What? हाँ बेटा, एक सेकंड. This is not what the photo was. Yes, it is this photo. It is funny too. हाँ. और मम्मी भी आ रही है, ठीक है? मम्मी जाके वापस आ रही है, ठीक है?